So good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you had a nice evening yesterday and you are ready to come back and work a little bit with us. The morning panel is about a fascinating topic that we mentioned a couple of times already yesterday, is to how to do awareness raising on anti-discrimination. We said that there is a low level of understanding what is discrimination and even lower about the anti-discrimination legislation and framework in most of the countries, including the European Union countries. So I would be really curious how one member state, Poland, and Ukraine as an associate member of the European Union would do awareness raising campaigning on the anti-discrimination legislation and framework. So I would like to welcome our moderator Irina and to give the floor to the panelists. Thank you.
Thanks, Sophia. Good morning. And yes, campaign might be an interesting topic. And the main question for me in this topic is who's supposed to do campaign? Is it the state that's responsible for promoting anti-discrimination legislation and making it known to citizens and non-citizens, or is it civil society responsibility? Who's supposed to talk about discrimination? Who's supposed to make it easy, understandable, and raise that awareness? Or nobody is supposed, and it's not needed. So I hope we will start with that, and I'm passing the floor to Agnieszka Mikulska from Helsinki Foundation, Poland. What you've been doing in Poland, how successful your campaigns were.
Okay, then we can start. Our campaign has a slogan, Discrimination Limits Counteract. It is run by the Coalition for Combating Discrimination in Ukraine. I will not tell you about the coalition because yesterday my colleague Irina told you. This campaign was elaborated last year, and this is the first year when we started the realization of the anti-discrimination campaign. This is a campaign that is targeted at the recognition of the problem, not a equality campaign, not diversity campaign. And we plan that this campaign will last 2 more years, so 3 years in general. Now I want to tell you a bit more about the target audience of our campaign, which are young people, youth, and during our campaign we made some creative things, and I want to show you one social experiment with the young people. What do they think about discrimination, how they perceive it, so you understand the audience and the problem with which we are working. Okay, then I'll proceed to the problem, as you saw from the video, why discrimination is usually invisible in Ukraine. We see several reasons for that. This is a lack of general understanding what discrimination is, as in many countries, I suppose. This is also an obstruction from a conservative group's idea that non-discrimination and equality do not comply with Ukrainian values, that it is something that is taken from the West, that it is not typical for Ukrainian society and we don't have such a problem. And also it is a problem that we don't have official statistics and usually people do not report discrimination. Also, we don't have many cases, and one problem that is typical for Ukraine, it's a militarization of society and cult of violence because of the conflict in Donbass. So, what about our campaign? In our campaign, we explain people, the young audience, what discrimination is and why it is bad, how to learn to see it manifestation in some specific examples, so they don't just think about discrimination as any type of human rights violations or any social injustice. And then finally, what to do if you have became a victim of discrimination, or your relatives or your friends. So we explain people through our website and other means how to appeal against discrimination, and there are several ways to deal with it, to make a complaint against discrimination to the Ukrainian ombudsman, to go to court, and we explain people that these variants are possible. Then how we act during our campaign. The idea is that first year of our campaign that we are running now is online campaign, so we focus more on the work in the internet. And then the last 2 years we continue work in internet, but also we make more public actions, university discussions, and offline, different type of offline events and offline advertisement. The logo symbol of our campaign, we thought a lot what can be something that can symbolize discrimination, so we finally decided it should be inverted turtle as a symbol of some limited possibilities, and we hope that till the end of campaign our turtle will be on her legs. So then I want to tell you briefly about our events and actions. During this year we made 6 campaign presentations in different places. It was a human rights documentary film festival. It was students, audiences in the universities. It was a presentation in the Ukrainian parliament. It was a presentation during street festival, so different places where we can tell young people about our campaign, what it is, and to give them some products and results of our campaign. Also, we made a 6 video produced during this year. 4 of them were done by our organization. This was video that I showed you, the social experiment. Sometimes we a bit provoke to draw attention. The similar social experiment was done in the parliament with Ukrainian MPs. And the questions were not the same, but also it is interesting if you want to see it. We also made an English subtitles for it, and you can find it on the campaign's website. Also, we have a video about, in general, with video graphics, what is discrimination, and the last one, which is very fresh because it was presented in Kiev only yesterday, about the job for people with disabilities, how can find a job places in Ukraine. And there are several more videos about on LGBT topics. They were produced by another organization that is a member of Coalition for Combating Discrimination in Ukraine. We try to reach journalists so they inform about our campaign, and we have more than 100 media materials and news in leading Ukrainian mass media that refers to the campaign or to some results. We have TV interviews. For example, these social experiments were then shown on the public television, and we had a discussion in studio with the TV anchors about this video. And also we have a production of campaign that like these bracelets, we have leaflets, brochures, t-shirts, bags, banners, like visual production that can tell you more about campaign. These are just samples of some materials that we did. This I want to show you the t-shirt because it's also with creative idea of limitation. That's something that limits you. So please be creative in your questions. Okay. Then we have a campaign's website. This is an awareness-raising website which, in a simple words, explains what is discrimination, and on some concrete examples with video, with some photo, with the stories that we tell about the victims of discrimination, or with some successful cases in court. So, in maximum simply words, explain our audience what is it. Also, we have we have profiles of campaign in social networks on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Vkontakte. We also distribute all the materials through these profiles, and we have an interactive campaign, and we have feedbacks from the audience and a lot of comments about some interesting facts and news. What about partners? That, as I said, the campaign is done by the Coalition for Combating Discrimination in Ukraine. It is done by Human Rights Information Center, the organization that I represent. We also have one more organization that have recently joined the campaign. It's also the member of Coalition. It's an organization that works with disability issues. It is called the Generation for Successful Action. And the campaign is supported by the International Renaissance Foundation. It's a Soros foundation in Ukraine, PACT, and also the partner of campaign in the Office of Ombudsman in Ukraine. These are the address of the site and profiles in the social network, so you can follow them and be updated with the news of the campaign. And finishing, I just want to tell you two more things: the budget and how we measure the results. The budget for the first year is $500,000 Ukrainian hryvnia. It's approximately 20,000 euro. We don't have still budget for the next 2 years because it depends how we can fundraise. And how we measure the results. We decided we have sociological surveys about, in general, how Ukrainian people, what they think about discrimination, if they think there is such a problem, but it's a general, and we wanted to be more focused on youth. So we, another partner of our coalition, the member of coalition, made a focus groups with 3 focus groups with young people, asking them different questions about discrimination. It was at the beginning of campaign, and they prepared the survey, and then we want to make the same survey in the end to see what changed, what has changed, and then we also will evaluate the quantitative data, like the number of people who visited website, the number of followers on Facebook, Twitter, and the number of people who visited some events of the campaign, to see not only some changes in the minds of people, but also the numbers that we managed to reach. So this is in short, about our campaign. It is not targeted on ethnic or national minorities specifically, but also we also plan to reach them as a part of our audience, and we use some examples in our campaign also based on the discrimination of ethnic and national minorities.
And now you have a chance to win one of these t-shirts and ask your questions to Agnieszka and Tanya. Who's going to be first?
I want your t-shirt, but I'm gonna ask you a question. You mentioned that you conducted a training for policemen, and what was the outcome of this training? Does the police change the way they deal with the hate crimes, or how do you evaluate the successfulness and effects of your awareness-raising campaign, and whether it helps or not?
And Tetiana, I wanted to ask you, was this campaign, did you cooperate with a PR agency on it, a media agency? Because it sounds really, it looks very professional. Did you have professionals to do it?
Thanks.
Thank you.
Now we have 2 questions, one more.
Thank you for the very interesting presentations, and I'll possibly follow up with my question, because what it seems to me is that what you are often faced and you need to tackle is not so much direct discrimination, but indirect discrimination. And then, of course, my question would be, how exactly do you assess how successful you are? And we have heard you have focus groups and some surveys, but I think this is much more of a subtle problem, and what do you think you can really achieve, and is this really something you can change in the short run, or does it need much more time? And this also relates to the question that was raised, if I understood it properly. So we do have a push of, for a universal human rights discourse on anti-discrimination. So everything is bundled together, anti-discrimination based on gender, on national or cultural origin, sexual orientation. And at the same time, you seem to engage yourself, at least from what I have seen, on the more specific types of discrimination. So in a sense, the question would be, are you standing for the point that you need to tackle the specific types of discrimination? Maybe Poland is doing fine when it comes to ethnic minorities. It's not doing so fine when it comes to gender orientation. Maybe gender equality is an issue in Ukraine, while I don't know, cultural recognition might not be. So which way do you think is faster to move ahead, so to say? Thank you.
I can start because my answer is not so long. About PR agencies, yes, we had a fair that we are doing this campaign by ourselves. We decided not to give it to outsource for PR agencies, and the main idea was that a lot of people, including PR agencies, they don't understand what discrimination is, and in order to receive a really creative and good product, it's difficult to expect from them to have such a product. It's even difficult for us because we create some ideas and then we discuss it inside the coalition, the working team on campaign. And it's difficult because, it's when it's a creative products, not always it is, some people like it, or there are different ideas how to reach the goal of this or that video. So we do it by ourselves, and we just invite some designers or some filmmakers when we have the ready idea, the ready concept, technical assignment, all that they need just to do what we said and like what we wrote. So this is the cooperation with some only specialists that are invited only for some short works. And maybe just a short answer to the last question about how we want to reach our results. Of course, it's very difficult to measure if you have a awareness-raising campaign. And our idea is that we want to raise this problem, to make it public, to make people talk about it. And we use not only some very like advertisement or video, we also work with journalists a lot. My organization, we provide for them a lot of trainings, how to cover some specific questions that are connected with discrimination of certain minorities. We have a journalist in our staff, and we prepare a lot of stories for the mainstream media. So to get big attention to some problems of discriminations, and we try to enroll as many people as possible to the campaign.
May I ask a question as well? To Tetiana, because you told that you put those videos on the website, on the Facebook. What were the comments? Because I'm just wondering if, we were laughing, because for us it was, easy discriminatory. But I'm not so sure that many people who are watching such a video, they are really surprised with this. With these answers, and I think they have nothing against these answers because they think the same. What was the comments?
Yes, but discussing it, they say that how they can answer in such a way. And you know, it's interesting. Of course, there are in every video some negative comments, but majority of them are like supportive, and we try to engage people. For example, we put the yesterday's video, and I just checked in the night. It was a line of comments on YouTube and the line of comments on Facebook, different comments from different people, and actually they like what we do. Of course, it depends on the topic. When we take LGBT topic, it's like more offensive comments, but the last video was about the people with disability and a lot of supportive comments. Or, for example, before we prepared a big story for one of the mainstream Ukrainian mass media, Ukrainska Pravda, about the problem how the women with disabilities can give a birth to a child in Ukraine, and this is a big problem, and it was a big discussion below this material. So we try to take some not usual situation of discrimination and to look into some other spheres and services, like providing medical services and something other that people don't expect. It's not just a question of physical access, it's much more, and we try to also surprise the audience and to show that discrimination is much wider than they might think.
So when you were telling us about the campaign that you went to the PR agency and they didn't really know what is discrimination and stuff like this, I was thinking that you had some other campaigns, or you did take examples of other countries' campaigns, because anti-discrimination campaigning is happening or has happened in every country, basically in the EU and even outside the EU. Have you taken any examples from EU member states or UK or something for the campaign idea?
Yes, I just want to correct you that we were not going to PR agencies, because we from the very beginning knew that maybe it is not a good idea. But when we elaborated this campaign, it was a long process, because we had a lot of creative seminars, a lot of discussions. It was almost a year that when we decided how this campaign should look like. We also discussed the different approaches to it, and we analyzed the experience of different discrimination campaigns in different countries, and we tried to research internet and all possible sources to look. The problem was that we wanted a broad anti-discrimination campaign including different grounds, and we had examples of some focused campaigns that were targeted at some groups like LGBT or people with disabilities, or some minorities like Roma minorities. And we wanted to have a broader example. We found one in Lithuania, if I'm not mistaken, or Latvia. Lithuania, that we also researched their experiences, and yes, for us it was interesting to see the other experiences.